Everywhere we go online, it seems that there's someone different that's telling you that you can only shoot one specific thing, and if you don't shoot that one specific thing, you'll never be successful, you'll never land the high-end jobs, you'll never be a rich and successful photographer if you don't shoot the one thing better than everybody else around you. That might be true for some people in some parts of the world, but for the vast majority of us, that isn't the case. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC, and I definitely didn't get into photography to follow the rules or to follow what everyone else is doing. I'm a contrarian at heart, and I've always liked to debate for the sake of debating. If someone tells me that I can only shoot one thing, then I'm going to be like, no, and then I'm going to try to find a way that isn't true. So the general discussion revolves around, if you don't shoot the same thing over and over again, then you're never going to understand all of the tiny little nuances in order to attract the highest end jobs within that niche. And that is solid advice for the most part. But I think if you don't live in a hyperly saturated market, that won't work. I know everybody is like, oh, well, there's not enough money in my market. Oh, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. I have to do this, I have to do that. If you're complaining about whatever market you're in, unless you are in quite literally a town of like 800 people, you're just not looking in the right place. There's money to be made in photography everywhere. And if we're only trying to be like, oh, well, I'm never going to make money if I don't shoot for Nike, or I'm never going to make money if I don't shoot a $100,000 campaign, you're not seeing the bigger picture. And I think as photographers, there's so much more money in that mid-tier level than there are at the high-end stuff. And that mid-tier level doesn't want you to be super, super niche down. They want you to be able to expose an image quickly and move on to the next one. Looking at my own career over the last 10 or so years, I'm able to say that the diversity of my portfolio is why I even have a career to begin with. You know, if you can zoom out a little bit from the only be good at one thing, well, how about the one thing you're good at is just cameras? How about that? It's just flashes. You know, everything you shoot has a certain aesthetic to it, and you do it in that way. And it doesn't matter if you change subject, or if you change niches or realms, or if you shoot cars, or if you shoot sports, or you shoot product, or you shoot couches. All of the above can be shot in your specific, unique way. I don't know if the video is out yet, but there's a cliche photographer video that you can check out here. And I talk about how the roses that you photograph have to be unique and original to you, but you don't have to reinvent the rose. You don't have to invent a brand new flower. And I think that's what's super, super important. The budgets are dwindling nowadays. There's not as much high-end work, but there's also the vast majority of you that don't live in New York City or that don't live in London, you know, and I feel like there's as many of you who live in London, Ontario that watch me that do live in London, England. Maybe we'll do a poll down in the comments, see how many live in both. That'd be kind of funny. But you know, you're like worrying about those tiny little nuances. You're trying to compete with Julia Fullerton-Batten instead of competing with the photographer next door. You know, like what you should be doing is just worrying about the tiny little things that you can apply yourselves to, instead of worrying about what Wayne Gretzky's doing, what Michael Jordan is doing. You know, you're not going to do a one-on-one with LeBron. All you need to worry about is the making the best of what it is that you're served. If you can apply yourself to your surroundings and your community, those people are going to trust you with a camera in their hands. Saying yes to more jobs, being able to accept more jobs has, helped refine my taste. The more you shoot things you don't like, the more you realize what you do like. But has also just put money in my pockets and has opened up different doors that I didn't think I would enjoy. I got into product work because I thought I hated people and shooting portraits and being in the room with someone. I was very nervous, and I was a very self-conscious person getting into photography. It's not until very recently that I started shooting a little bit more lifestyle campaigns, and I started shooting a little bit more stuff with the people. And I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to just grow my network with more people than just with, a cup of espresso. Like, oh yeah, sure, that first gig in that new genre might not be a $10,000 photo shoot, but you don't need it to be a $10,000 photo shoot. If you can focus on doing the best you can in the moment, moving on to the next one, then over time you'll be able to grow a nice career. It's silly to think that, I'm only going to try to book, $30,000 campaigns every 2 months. Like, if they happen, and that's great. And if you're able to take the time to only try to attract those types of clients, then sure, maybe that is a possibility for you. But it's a misconception to think that the middle tier or this like grunt work photography can't be a super profitable career. I've said this before, but like if you're a real estate photographer, you won't be shooting 50 grand a house, but you can be shooting 5 houses a day for a whole week and a whole month and in a whole year, and you make yourself a very profitable career that way. It's not about trying to say no to lower end jobs or trying to say no to different types of niches that you don't want to be a part of because you were like, oh well, I read so and so online told me that I can only shoot the same thing if I want to be successful. Like, no, there's so much in photography nowadays. This is, a content-driven world. It always has been. Advertising has always really run the world. But now, instead of having, one campaign that gets blasted all across your country and that is in every ad space possible, and they're using the exact same photo over and over and over again, nowadays, those budgets are separated locally. And they're separated for all of these tinier, smaller scale productions. And sure, for better or worse, that might suck. You might not enjoy that. But that doesn't mean that those jobs aren't there. They're just separated. Instead of spending 100 grand, Coke rather spend 10 grand 10 times and have 10 times more photos than the one ad space. So one of the things you need to focus on, one of the things you should focus on, is just accepting more jobs. Shooting will make you a better shooter. Even if over 100 shots you get 1% better, even if over 100 shoots you only get 1% better, that's better than trying to hold off until you make it 2% better with that super high-end shoot that you're looking for. Just shoot more, create more. It'll make you a better photographer over time. Even if you're shooting things you don't like, you'll find a way to like it, or you'll find a way to shoot something that you actually enjoy out of the things you don't like. As photographers, we're not always shooting things that we like. We're not always shooting, I'm not always shooting food that I want to eat, and I'm not always shooting with people that I even enjoy being in the same room with, to be honest with you. But it's about making the most of those situations often, more and more and more and more. And the more I can do that, the better my career gets. The more I can actually have a profitable career to look back at and be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Maybe 100% of the days aren't 100% happy, and it's not always the dream scenario. But if I focus on just having a camera in my hands and just shooting and shooting and shooting, eventually I'll just land another gig of something that I actually really enjoy doing. And over time, I can create a career that's like, oh, that was fun. That was cool. I tell my students all the time to just create small, tiny, little achievable goals. And once you've crossed it, then you can move on to something else. If you have this big 10-year goal, this 10-year milestone that you never actually reach, that doesn't feel like you're actually working towards, it's really hard to be motivated to keep shooting and to see any progress in your career or your journey as a photographer. So it's pivotal to be able to just self-motivate, self-assign yourself these shoots, even if you're not making money. But at the very least, don't start saying no to jobs because they're not very specifically within the niche that you wanted or something like that. Just say yes, take it all in, find a way to love it, and then if you don't, then maybe you can decide not to shoot it more again. But just be content with the camera in your hands. Eventually, those bigger high-end jobs might come in and land. I'm not going to say they will, but they might come in and land if you really do enjoy what you're doing and you focus on building those relationships. The more things you can shoot, the more people you meet, the more relationships you can have, and the more you can grow your network as a photographer. Thanks for watching today. A little bit shorter, a few references to the past in this one, but it's just something I kind of wanted to get off my chest. Appreciate you. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you in a couple days. Later.